Welcome to this more in-depth video about how to recreate the coat of arms of my state, North Rhine-Westphalia. This object is complex enough, so it has a good level of challenge to get it done. And at the same time, it is simple enough so it doesn't frustrate you too much, and it, for me, provides a rich opportunity to demonstrate to you different techniques or ways how to do it. So I will very much focus on the process and the step by step I would use. And in addition, maybe you remember very often in class I said there are many roads that lead to Rome. I will show you sometimes when usable different variations how to do something. And then it's basically up to you to decide which one you prefer more. Okay, so enough talking. Let's get walking. And what I will do first, I want to center this document perfectly on my page. So right now you see it doesn't snap because it looks like, I don't have my snap to canvas border yet turned on. So let's see where the snap is. There it is. Let's move this one up. Okay, good. Perfect. But before we continue, I will just click on the page and then double click on grid and type in 0.1 and year 0.1 and press enter. So that is the grid. Our page nicely is an even number of 11 and we can subdivide this by 1. So why did I do this? We now go to view, show grid. If everything was set correctly, interesting. So the image is actually not very proportionally even. So you see that this triangular tip here is not on a grid. So actually this snap to page margin we can actually ignore. That one is not very precise. I will try to snap it roughly to the center. Okay, then I turn it off. And then this is the midlines. And then I can, with my left mouse button, click, hold, drag, move the mouse a little bit and release it. So I want to make sure that these two tips, which are perpendicular to each other, are along a line. So that actually adjusts the left and right position. And here you see we have the green ring, and it's not vertically positioned perfectly on this line. So maybe I can do this by pressing the arrow key up and down. So that actually works pretty good. In my case, this seems to be close, but now you see this is a tick bigger than this, and now this is a tick bigger than this. So I have to still adjust this by hand just a tiny bit. There are two ways now how to adjust this. So left mouse button, click and hold, press shift. So you can only move the image vertically up, because now I move my mouse just a little bit up, release the left mouse button, release shift, and there we are. So that's good. For those who think that's a little bit too tedious, let me go back to the previous stage. You see also up here, left and top, can actually adjust these numbers. So -16, -20, -22, there. See, we can do it also via a numeric input. Okay, let's zoom out a little bit. The whole image fits on the page, and that is perfect. Let's turn off the grid and let's lock and lock again the image. So now I can't select and move it. Okay, so step number 1, we will work on this black outline. To retrace it, there are there are two ways. We can either use the outside edge or we can work with the inside edge. And I will work with the inside edge. So I can just simply draw a rectangle loosely into the object. And then I try to drag this one up as closely as possible. And this line is 1 point. This is way too big. So I changed this one to a nice and thin line. There. Okay. Then I zoom into here and just move this midpoint to there. So it's important you do not click to the left or to the right or on the edge. You need to click, and you see there how the arrow key gets a small square. Then this way it knows you are manipulating the midpoint of this edge, and then this way we just move it and scale it along the horizontal direction. Same here. There. Okay. Perfect. That was one way how to do it. Let me show you a second way, because this was no more based on visualizing maybe the image, but we also put the image nicely onto the grid. So maybe we want to make use of the grid if we can a little bit. So you see, if I zoom out, the grid is smaller. If I zoom in, the grid is a tick bigger. Turn snap to grid on. Go to the rectangle tool. And now you see that this gray box where my mouse cursor is already starts jumping because it snaps to a grid point. And you see there, this object was created to a grid. Let's delete this for a moment and redo this. The click sequence, mouse and keyboard, is very important now. So I can left mouse button, click, nicely centered, you see here, over the green area. Hold the left mouse button and drag it out, and then I press and hold the Alt or Option key. And you see then from the center the shape nicely grows out. And I can release it. Okay, so the snap command we want to, for the grid, turn off again. And now we can zoom into here, move this one up. Also again, be careful about that you nicely position the cursor right on this square, so you see the square at the cursor. There, okay. And then here, no, I do not just left mouse button click and drag. I press the Alt key at the same time because I'm actually adjusting then the left side as well. Here, let me give you a proof. So I moved it over while holding the Alt key. And there you see, they grow at the same time. So half the work just with one command. Left mouse button click, hold, drag, Alt. Release the left mouse button, release the Alt key. Perfect. Okay. Now we need to figure out where roughly this edge stops. And maybe it looks like there. Good. So now we have to make sure snap to shape boxes is on. Well, we could use the grid as well, but we can also, because this box I drew is perfectly centered on my grid, I can also draw from this point my next shape, which will be an ellipse. So let's go to the ellipse command, zoom in. So left mouse button, click, hold Alt, move your mouse till you see it snaps to the right edge of the box. Release the left mouse button, release the Alt key. Now we created the circle or ellipse perfectly centered. And then to adjust the height, we can move the mouse onto this small element here and just drag it down till it fits. Okay, good. No, that's not good because as you can see, I I scaled it down. That's not really what I wanted. So left mouse button, hold the Alt key. So you see from the center now I scale it out, so I don't change where my ellipse initially was created. And release the mouse key. Now let's make this red. So you see we're close, but the ellipse is not good. So I have to actually change this a little bit. So I make this a little bit smaller and then make it bigger so you see what I'm doing. And I try to move this one up and down and wiggle till it feels like the blue line is perfectly touching that black line. And there you see that the midpoint of my ellipse is actually a tick higher. Okay. Now we can adjust the rectangle. Move it up till there you see it snaps to the midpoint of my ellipse. Good. This is perfect. So click on the square, shift click left mouse button onto the circle. Or not, sometimes the program is finicky. Okay, we can also drag over it. So you see simple selection over these two shapes is quicker. There we have it. Now these two objects we want to join, and the reason why we join it with the union is, as you can see now, the interior lines are gone, and we just use the outside lines of the square and the circle. Now here we have a compound shape. We can double click this and maybe call this one shield marble, since I watched that yesterday. And black is not very good to see, so we make this red. Let's make this maybe 10 to give the border a certain thickness. But the problem is, as you can see, the more you give the amount to the size for the border, the more it grows to the outside, but also to the inside. So now we have to specify how the border will be applied. Currently it runs centered along the path, and we want it to go from this path to the outside. To do this, with the shape selected, we go to advanced stroke settings. So click on this icon here with the pen. Here are three options: grow inside, grow along the center, and grow along the outside. Maybe 10.5. There. Perfect. There we are. Now we have it. Good. So the object obviously is black, so we can give this a black line. If we want the filling to be white, we can keep the white filling, or for the moment we can keep this not transparent, but I simply turn off the visibility of the filling. Okay, so let's take a look at how we can create the green shape. And there are two different ways how we can do this. And the main reason why I show you this is so you see two different options, but at the same time I can also talk a little bit more about different ways how to create something. So the more illustrative approach, less physically accurate approach would be we try to redraw this one. Similar to the first shape, the green shape has a box, and then it has an interesting ellipse which is pinched. So we can't really use the same approach with drawing a box and then drawing something else. Doesn't necessarily work well. So what we do in this case now is work with the pen tool. And with the pen tool, what we can do is just left mouse button click and click, and here at the center and click. If you want to draw a line straight perpendicular on top, you can hold the shift key. You see also 45, where you can draw it to the left, so horizontally, and maybe click there. And then let's go to this area here. Whoa, this is too far. Whoa, where did I zoom out? Hold on, sorry. Okay, this is a little bit too fast with my mouse. So if you move your mouse to the end, you see that the cursor gets a small ring. And that basically means that the pen tool understands that there is an end curve, an end point. And we can click on it, and then you see it creates a closed shape. Okay, perfect. So you see with the shift key, we can draw a straight or horizontal or 45-degree line. But now these other lines are all crooked. Well, you don't need to redraw them, so we don't delete it. We are going to align the different points. So double click onto the shape, click on this point, shift click on this point, and then either go to here for the align, or with your mouse there, right mouse button, align top. No, is it the same? Oh, it moves up. Why do you move up to there? Or maybe here, centered. Hold on, this is actually, maybe it actually had something else selected. Hold on, let's hide these elements for a moment, there and there, and align top there. See, I had a different element selected, so it aligned it to that. So always make sure by accident you have nothing else selected. So click this, shift click this, right mouse button, align left here, and align right. This one and this one. Or we can say align middle. So these commands, as you can see, you can find at different positions inside the UI. It's up to you to select which one you would like to use. Okay, let's bring the coat of arms back, because now we have to position it correctly. This shape. So when I double click it, I can click a point, and I can click this point with shift, click this line. See, I can move it freely. Press shift, now I can only move it left and right, or up and down. So maybe to there. Okay. What about this one? This is a tick off. So I can also double click the shape, click on this line, and then click and shift and drag, as you can see, the whole line. That works as well. Pretty much the same. Here, double click, shift, move it up with the left mouse button, and release the left mouse button, then release shift. Perfect. And on here we just have to make sure that this one is nicely centered. Okay, good, we're close. So this point, double click onto the line, click on this point, and we say mirror. Click on this point, set this angle, that handle or node to mirror. Now we have to adjust these handles, so I can click this handle, press shift, and now you see it's vertical. And I have to memorize a little bit on what grid line this handle ended. So I can then make sure they're plus minus the same. And it looks like this way. So these two nodes are selected, and then I can click left mouse button, hold, press shift and move my mouse down. I can also use the arrow key up and down to move these parts. Okay, so that looks pretty close. Let's go to here, double click, click this one. Let's make this a mirror. So actually with shift, you see I move them in, make this a little bit taller, but I'm not really getting the shape I want. Because with the mirror, the left and the right, as you can see, are the same. So we have to disconnect it. Click disconnect. And what I can do now is move this one and sculpt that flow. Now you can see maybe where does this work. So maybe there. That's pretty close. So you see here this grid line. So this one to this grid line and then go over till it starts to stick out kind of like there. Perfect. So this way we eyeballed that shape. So let me show you now how I could create the blue, sorry, the green and the red shape with a different approach. If you pay closely attention, you see that the distance between the red and the black and green and the black elements are exactly the same. They're parallel. That led me to the belief that the green and red perimeter is basically created by a smaller version of the black shape. Okay, so let me show you how that works. This object, I will just make a clone. Hide the original one. And let's make this one red so you see what I'm working on. Okay, so step number one is I have to make this shape smaller so it flows along the horizontal and vertical green edge. But before we do this, we can go to modify, path, convert to path. This command applies the compound shape calculation and takes these two elements, the square and the circle, and redraws it into a new element. So let's do this. And there you see, there it is. A new shape. So you can adjust it. Okay. Now this element is too big. We have to shrink it. For that we have a command, path, and shrink. And I think in my case it's 12. Nope, it probably is 13. Yeah, that's pretty close. Maybe a notch more. 0.5. There. Okay. So, and if I go to here, there you see it actually follows that whole shape perfectly. So my hunch was correct. That's the way how they created it. So how do we continue now? Well, we can make a clone and then left mouse button click, hold shift and drag this one over till it hits this edge exactly as we want. There. Let's take a look. Do they overlap at the same position? Yeah, pretty close. Perfect. So now instead of using the union, we can actually make use of the intersection command. And there we have it. See? So these two shapes are intersected. So I still have the original shape, but I end up with the resulting intersecting area. So maybe call this one green shield. Let's maybe give this a color. Keep the fill color invisible. Click on the white field, click on the eyedropper, and then eyedrop the color. Perfect. There it is. Okay, now we can make a copy. So either via the clone or what I will do, this object selected, left mouse button click, drag, shift, and while pressing shift I also press and hold the alt key, and you see I can move a new copy right out of it. There. And then I only have to make sure that they're plus minus positioned the same way a little bit. like this. Okay, and you're red. There. See, there are our first shapes. We do not have any boundary lines. So, whoops, spelling, whoa, there, and there, you and you, zero boundary. Okay, great. Then, to make sure that we do not by accident work with them, I can simply lock them. This shield, the green one, now I can delete, because this shield is more accurate to the original design. So how do we create that water shape now? Let's hide all these elements here. And there are different ways how we can create this. And also there I will show you two different ways. Let's go with way number one. So we select the pen tool. And wherever you have a hill and a valley, we definitely need a point. So somewhere there, there, and there. Go down, go to there, and there, and go to there. Perfect. So, actually, they're not going to be two different ways. I actually combine both now into the same shape, because now we can define the different type of nodes. This node, and shift click this, and this node. Oh, what happened? Just stay where you were, there. We will turn from straight into the symmetric option. And what does symmetric actually mean? Let me show you. You click a point and you drag it, and you see the handles are being adjusted for you, which results very often into nice and smooth designs. Not really much work. Works pretty good. Maybe here I need an additional point, so I can press P for the pen. Click on this path. See, it added a new path. Click on symmetry. Click on the pen. Double click. Click this point. And move it in where it should belong to. There. Okay. Actually, now here we can add another point there as well. So it's always very good to start very basic, and then step by step you can start adding more stuff to it as you need. It's always easier to work with a very basic shape than, how could I say that, have a lot of points at the beginning to work with, and then it makes it a little bit more complicated. So here we need one point in there, so P, point there, point there. Let's go to select, double click, U, shift click in U, and then we can position these points. Oh, that doesn't really do it right. Mirror, symmetry. I noticed that before already. So here, you see the handle doesn't really do it right. So what I did was, you need to double click, and it still says symmetric, but in other programs they call it automatic curves. So you see now it rotates it better. So there, double click. So you want to see these shapes kind of like as a small star there. There, and then we can move this one up. Not sure. Let's see. We can't always use them. I think in this case here, we really have to just have a normal mirrored command or so. That's fine, because I have to adjust the handles individually so they fit. Okay, perfect. Good. So this shape is done. This one I will give a white fill, no border, so 0. And for example, I call this one water, so it's easier to know what it is. And where is my shield, the green one? Oh, this is actually the red one. There. There's the green one. Oh, okay. That actually shows me here. This one is not long enough, so I will drag this one out a little bit more one way. Or I can simply press P, add a point, and then drag this one out as needed. Yeah. Okay, so that covers it. So with this water shape and the green shield, so I want actually to cut the water away from this path. So let's see how we have to do this. Put this on top. And this one, this water one, subtract. Yes. Perfect. So you see the water shape we cut out. And then this other coat of arms shape, there would say find the difference to the coat of arms shape below. Perfect. Great. So this is actually, really, as you can see, just the green shape, and the water area is cut out. So let's take a look at our flower down here, the rows. Okay. So how can we create the green circle? Well, the green circle is very difficult. We go to the ellipse, we turn snap on, left mouse button click, alt key, shift, and then we drag a new circle out. Okay, no fill. Then we turn the snap off, because now clicking on one of these corners and then alt and then shift, we can nicely scale the ring up and down proportionally from its center. And there's the green ring. Perfect. Then we can make a clone. Scale it up the same way. Left mouse button, click, hold, and drag. Press and hold shift and alt option. Release the left mouse button. And there we are. Make another clone and scale it up to there. Perfect. Good. Always try to break down visual complexity into the easiest blocks you could chew on. So these 4 lower leaves are rotated, quite complicated. This one is not. So I can create a new ellipse. Snap actually now, that's the reason why I don't need the grid anymore. I can now snap to the center of my circle. Also snap to this point here. Left mouse button click, hold the alt key. So I scale it out from the center and just create a leaf like this. Perfect. Okay, great. Let's turn this fill off. I would like to rotate and make copies of this around it. And there are multiple ways how we can do this. Let me show you way number one. We make a clone. Then we click on transform. And then here with this dot, we can move this one down till this rotation center snaps to the center of that green circle. And now don't move your mouse on or on these lines. I move my my mouse cursor to the outside, and you see I can rotate. And the left mouse button, click and drag. So you hold the left mouse button. You can see you can rotate it around. And we have 5 leaves, 360 degree, 360 by 5, 72. And there we are, minus 72. Okay. Now this one, we can click, make a clone, rotate, go to there, and bring it over, and just make sure this is really 72. Okay. This is twice, so 72 multiplied by 2, so 144. Let's make a clone, rotate, bring this down, and zip. Okay, that was number one. Clone, rotate, bring this to there, and 144. Oh, one more. There. Perfect. So, pretty good. Now this ring is the outside. This ring is the inside hole of my rose. So this element here I will just call rose base. And I will show you why. And this is maybe rose center hole. What's this one? Oh, that is actually green center. And these are all my different leaves. So from the first leaf down to the rose base, you can select all. It also works if we just do 2 first, and then we say merge. And you see this leaf ellipse is the first element, so it will be added to always the lowest part, so the rose base. This one we can drag in. Just drag it onto the compound shape, and you see it will get automatically, in this case, the merge, so the union command. And now you see all these empty spaces, all these inner curves are gone. If we give this a fill, however, you see it's filled. So there's my rose base, and there's the rose center hole. And I can also drag this one in, but I don't want to add, I want it to cut out. So here we can select subtract. Let's give this a color. And there we are. Perfect. So you see the order is actually very important. Think about the lowest element is kind of like your cookie dough, and all these other elements are your cutters. So we either remove something or we add something to it. So maybe we call this one rose base shape. Perfect. Good. Let's try to work on these green elements. So I will hide actually everything besides the this one. Maybe I can use this for some sort of alignment, since I always can snap the vertical line from it. So how can we create this one? Well, way number 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, subselect. Then we can start dragging all these points out. There, and there. And yeah, you have to make sure all these points are perfectly the same, which is possible, but it's a lot of work. So that's one way how you can do it. Let me show you a second way, because you can see there are nice arcs. And as it turns out, also these green elements are built out of ellipses. So ellipse number 1 sits somewhere here. There, see, perfect fit actually. Hold on, a student just, okay, I will reply to this later. So now this object I have to mirror over. So I will make a clone, and then down here where my cursor is, we can flip it. Oh, just ignore the flip because this is actually a horizontal shape. You won't really see a difference. But what I need to do is I need to bring this one over so that these two black lines ideally mirror over where this gray line is. Ignore actually the image, because the image is not very precise. You see how jaggy it is. Rather actually try to work on the grid, so we make it more precise. We can even see here that this touches the red line here, but the black one doesn't even touch it, so probably even that initial image is not very accurate. It's pretty bad since I got it from Wikipedia. Anyway, first two shapes. Let's try to see where are the next shapes. Anything like here? Difficult. This is a pretty flat surface. And point 1. So what we can do is we actually have to squeeze this ellipse a little bit, and then we just rotate it. And let's rotate it again. There, I think that's a student who got a job in Seattle. He's now doing glass work, which is pretty cool. Okay, so, but what's not very good here right now is this ellipse is sticking out here. So I want to see if I can get the same shape just with a smaller ellipse. So now I would maybe have to rotate this a little bit more. Oh yeah, there it is. Maybe make this a tick flatter. There, perfect. Here now make a clone. This time we can actually mirror it over, and then same idea, make sure it intersects ideally where that grid is there. Okay, so looks quite interesting. Now here come the important steps. These first two objects we can select with shift or make a selection over it to drag, and then we find the intersecting area. There, see this? Perfect. These other two ellipses we will use to remove their shape from this form. So is that the part? Yes. So we call this one green leaf. So ellipse here, drag in, and you drag in, and then we say subtract and subtract, and you have no border, and oops, fill. Actually, for the moment we make it red so you can see it. There, perfect. Looks pretty awesome, huh? See, it wasn't very complicated. Okay, so there's just one tiny element left. How do we do a much better rotation because I don't want to use the same transform tool. And there's actually, if we click this compound shape and click on this one, we can actually make a 5 copies, rotation 72, apply. Yeah, they're just rotated all across each other. So that didn't really work out. So we need to figure out how could we tell the software that there is a center. So there's a small little trick. I will draw a line from this center point down, so I just see it. And then this line I will drag in. Okay. So why did I do this? If you just click on this compound shape, you see there is a boundary box that goes right to the center. And it doesn't include only the red element, but also the top point of this rectangle. And that is the trick now. So with the compound shape selected, we go back to this transformation, 72, 5 copies, and in here now we could say, well, where is the center of the rotation? You see here this shape has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 dots. We have the same here, outside and then the center. I don't want it to rotate around the center. I want it to rotate around right this position, which is there. Okay, cross fingers and apply there. See, worked perfect. So last thing you only have to do, all these annoying helper lines we created, we just remove. Okay. Also this one here, turn this one off. Let's give this a nice green juicy color. And these compound shapes also have the wrong color there. Okay, let's hide the image. Let's show the rows. The rows does not have a border. Okay, perfect. See, this looks actually pretty clean and is probably much cleaner than the image I downloaded from the web. So at this point, what I would start to do is actually create folders. So rows is a folder, and into there I drag all these elements. So there. Now I can lock this part, I can hide it. Oh, this one was left out. You belong to there as well, buddy. Nobody excludes you. There we are. Perfect. See? Now we can't drag over it and it's permanently always there. So the last step that is left to do is to work on the horse. So the horse is a combination of the pen tool, and then with the pen tool we can use different node types. So what do you have there? Rows you are hidden. Shield, they're all hidden. Okay, they're all locked. I can't select them by accident. So let's start with the tail. That's an easy one. And again, try to think where are the least amount of points you need. So I can click here. I don't need a point there because I can click here and then pull the handles out later. And I will show you how that works. And there, probably there, 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 I think there, one there, turn the fill off, maybe one there, and there. Okay, so two ways now how we could continue. double click on the shape, this point, we can turn it to mirror, disconnect, and just pull this one out. See? There. With this handle, I arc the surface. Could also press P, put a point onto there, and then move this point down to the center, and then say, you know what, buddy, you are the symmetrical part. So actually, the center point and the handle do the work for me. I don't have to pull out the handle from there or there. So that works as well. It's pretty much left pocket, right pocket. Up to you which way you'll prefer to work. Let's say here we do a symmetry. This point we do a symmetry. We might have to move these points around a little bit. I see. There it doesn't 100% work so good. So maybe there. So this arc is nice, but this arc is terrible. So I guess then in this case here, there's no other way. We need to pull this out a little bit there. And you see in this case then this one actually we can remove with the delete key. It's an additional point. We can just then do the same with this handle to be pulled out. This is a good case to show you that there are always multiple ways how you can do it, and sometimes you don't really know which way will be the best. You might simply have to explore a little bit and then try this out. So I still can't really get this one shape there perfect. So I guess in that case I can click mirror and I just have to maybe hand sculpt this a little bit. This is maybe a little bit too big. There and there. Bring this over. Okay, let's take a look here. I will continue simply working with the mirror tool because for certain tasks I think this is actually better. You see the mirror tool has one issue. The left and right handles are exactly the same. And if you click the symmetrical, then the handles are exactly the same. They're aligned, but I can have different sizes. So that's another difference between the mirror and symmetrical. There. This one we can move over. Okay. So here, move this one in, disconnect, move this one to there, this one to there. This one maybe we do a symmetrical. You do a symmetrical. I don't really like how this one looks, so double click. Whoop. Should be symmetrical, so be careful of the stages. So double click again, that makes it disconnected. Now it's a symmetrical and a disconnected. So it's quite, you have to be careful of all the different stages the software can provide you with. And maybe pull this one out. Then this one we can drag over. Oh, look, this one works well. Here, symmetrical, and then see if it's a symmetrical, and the moment we move the point, then it changes it to a symmetrical without the handles being automatically updated. There with the shape. You see, that's the kind of like the least amount of points you only need to get that type of a shape done. So let's take a look at the front leg, because that's an interesting mix of arcs and sharp lines. Okay, so pen tool, click, click, click. There's an arc, but I can do that with handles. There's an arc, but I can do that with handles. 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 Click, click. This is a round corner. I need something there. Click, and there. Okay, so that looks pretty fantastic. To make work a little bit easier, here you see I added some extra points, and then here go in symmetrical, there go in symmetrical. Let's see if this actually flows the shape as much as I want. There. See, this one doesn't do it necessarily very good, so I have to rotate this a little bit. There. So you see, instead of pulling the handles out there, I just added an extra point in the center and then work with the two handles it has there. Because as it looks like, this is interestingly a slight S-curve, I think. So you there. Yeah, there it actually slightly comes out, so this is okay. But then here, this one, for sure we have to do a mirror and then we can disconnect it. So this has to go up and then this one has to go in. There's our small arc. This one maybe I can pull out. This one I can pull out, do symmetry. Hopefully that works. Maybe there. Yeah, pretty good. Dum dum dum. It all works. So here, disconnect. That works as well. See, because this already was an arc, it does not pull the handle out for the line. Just for that other part. Let's pull this to there. No, this is a little bit tricky. Maybe it has to be more there. Ah, there it is. Okay, nice. There's the next shape. Okay, I will stop the video here so you can continue tracing the other elements and then I will show you how we finish up the rest. So I'm nearly done. I just wanted to show you how once you maybe stop a sketch and then how you could continue that sketch. So I click on the shape. See, this point is selected. So let's select nothing, click, double click. See, now point is selected. Press the pen key and there you can see you can start drawing. Maybe let's start from here. Click, there. See here, I pull it out a little bit. Go to there, shift down, shift to the right. Click, click, click. Yeah, this has this S key again. There's a small arc. Click. So you see where I can do something. I start already drawing that shape. This is interesting. More probably this way. There will be probably a small arc. There will be something. Whoa. How do we do this? Maybe there. There. Click, click. This is a big shape, so there's the next one. There's one there, and there. There. It slightly goes down, so there, and there. Whew. Okay, perfect. So let me show you some advanced ways how we can now edit our stuff. So I will go to the sub-select key. Click this point, drag this line out, drag the other line out, put it to there, and just then here try to see what I can do with this stuff. I can't really fully shape this one out, so there actually I might need an additional curve. No, actually I need an additional point. So S, and I can move this one down. Yeah, because this one goes slightly up. There. This one is a little bit whoop. It's not a little bit whoop, but it's a little bit more straight. So this point straight. Okay, so what I will do now, pay attention to this, I click this edge and I drag this edge out, and you see it actually drags the handles for you. So that's pretty awesome. So move this one to there. I have to be careful about you click the points, remain a straight line. Perfect. There. Okay. This is art. So again, I don't pull out the handles on this point. I simply click this segment and then drag it out. And by clicking on the segment, it only drags out the handles I'm actually interested in. There. Let's make this one a little bit this and a little bit this. There. This goes up. This goes down. This goes to there. See, it's like zip, zip, zip. So pretty fast. This again here will be an S shape. So this handle now we have to move to there. This handle has to be pulled out a lot. Then this can go to there and go to there. There. See, beautiful. Let's move this to there. Now this is going to be an interesting case. Maybe we make this a mirror tool. So then we can bring this one down a little bit. Bring this one in a notch. There. Perfect. So what's happening there? This one maybe we can delete. Don't need it because this point we can pull out more. Yeah, and we have this shape. Here we drag this out with this command. This maybe goes to there. No, just this point. Let's make this a mirror so the handles are, symmetry. So the handles are aligned to each other. Here, pull this in. Oh, my whole shape shifted a little bit. Perfect. Let's move this back. Let's see. Okay. Shoot. So, where I use the direct selector is just if I click these points and then I just move just these points. With the subselect, sometimes you can also then edit the handles a little bit, which makes it, in my opinion, sometimes a little tricky to work. There. So S. Oh, disconnect. This goes down. This goes to there. If the handles are actually pulled out, then that's fine. So I go back to the V key. And here all those actually just have to be nudged to the left. The arrow key, interestingly, that one decided not to go for whatever reason. So be careful, because I just dragged the whole shape again, that you don't do that by accident. So last element here. This should be a mirror maybe. No, Tucker. Shh. I'm doing a video recording. So I close the door. Sorry for the noise. So the shape is done. Let's take a look what we have. There's our eye. There's our horse. Whoops. So let's name those properly. Okay, so the eye we would like to cut out of the horse. So these two we can select and say, I don't know, just merge, and then we see who's first. Horse is first, should not be, so actually the eye we drag on top. And then we say the eye, please subtract out of it. Okay. Let's give this shape a color, maybe a nice red, and there you see it actually is cut out. Perfect. So all we have to do now is select the missing parts, apply a color, hide our image. All this maybe could be put into, let's say, another folder. So horse, let's drag it in. And then there's our rose, there's a red shield, there's a green shield, there's our marble shield, and well, obviously all these elements here have the wrong color, so I set this to white. Perfect. So to see if everything works out, let's give the background a different color, and there you see how all this actually works. But now we can see that we have a white horse on the red background, and actually I just want the horse to be cut out of the red shield. So what we can do instead, what I did here actually was not very smart. We do the following. So there's our shield, water, so that's the green one, there's the red one. Okay, so you and you. We drag that onto the red shield, and then we say subtract. There, now you see the different elements cut out. Also here, this compound shape, sorry, that in this case doesn't make sense, so we drag this out. This one now we can remove. And there. So there's the horse. Subtract the eye. Actually, I think in that case we add to it. No, we also cut out. Oh yeah, works that way. Okay, let's do a color check. Yeah, perfect. So there it is. Now that's the normal workflow I would use to, for example, create the rose, the red shield, the green shield with the elements, and then the bigger shield outside. Click Save, and you're done.